Your home for talk all weekend long. Monty, Brian Copeland, Corral, Pat Thurston, and Maureen Langan. Talk lives here. KGO 810.
Our house. Woo, you trying to do a real estate deal? Are things falling apart on you? Then you are listening to the right radio show. Brendon DeSimone is a real estate expert and investor, and we've invited him onto the program to talk about 4 ways to get creative when a real estate deal breaks down, which is about every real estate deal, isn't it, Brendon?
Nowadays, you got to get creative.
Yeah. The problem is you got to get everybody on the same page with you, correct?
You do. A lot of times you got buyers over in one corner, seller in the other corner, and you slowly but surely try to move to the center, and sometimes you get stuck just too far apart.
So it's like Boehner and President Obama then.
Exactly, butting heads. But you got to find the middle ground.
The problem is you have a buyer, you have a seller, and you have a financer in the middle of all of this, right? So you really have at least 3 stakeholders.
You do, and the buyer's got to deal with what their lender will require or not require, what their guidelines are, and then they got to deal with a seller who can just say no. And if everyone really wants to make the deal work, you got to put your heads together and you got to make the deal work and come together, get creative, and do what it takes to get the deal closed.
So what do you do? Give me an example.
There's a bunch of things. Nowadays, buyers are not so much focused on the purchase price as they used to be. People aren't staying in their homes for, 30 years anymore. They could be moving in 3 to 5 to 7 years. So they're really focused on those monthly payments. They're trying to keep their monthly down. So, instead of dropping the price or reducing the price, $5,000 or $10,000, the seller could offer up, homeowners dues for 1 year. It will cost the seller half as much, but it will go a long way for the buyer. It's less out of pocket every month for the actual buyer. So pay down the homeowner's dues. Similar thing you can do is property taxes. Property taxes are paid, once or twice a year, depending on where you live, and it's a couple $100 a month. Don't negotiate the sales price down by $5,000 or $7,000. Have the seller pay those property taxes. It'll just go a long way with the buyer, and actually they'll feel it in their pocket. If you reduce the price $5,000 or $7,000 over the course of a 30-year loan, the buyer's barely going to feel the effects of that price reduction. They really want to get that money in their pocket every single month.
So this is interesting. Home buyers have become like car buyers. They're shopping monthly payments.
They really are, because it's rare nowadays that someone, not everybody, but a lot of people are buying for, 3, 5, 7 years, and they're not thinking the whole big 30-year thing. So they are really just focused on their monthly payment, and they call their mortgage professional literally like twice a day when they're negotiating, saying, what's my payment going to be? What's my payment going to be? What's the rate going to be?
Right.
And the rate's another place where you can get really creative. Buyers can always have the option to, what's called buy down your interest rate. The lender offers you, 4.5%. At any time, you could offer to pay some points, 1 point, 1% of the loan to your lender, and actually get a better interest rate on your mortgage, and that saves you, a couple $100 a month. So
now let me ask you this, Brendon. That has got to put you in a great position if they're looking at your house and another house, and you know that.
Yes.
That's when you pull that trick out, right?
I think so. The seller says, you know what, we may be $5,000 or $7,000 apart, but I'll buy your rate down. It'll cost me less. It'll go a lot farther for you, who's focusing on your monthly payments every month.
And then all of a sudden, your house looks like a lot better deal. Rather than, it's about the same, all of a sudden you're looking like the deal.
Honestly, sometimes I feel like sellers should just, put out there what their monthly payment's going to be in this house versus that house, because a lot of buyers are focused on that, and they don't care so much about the purchase price. The purchase price is just some number out there that they're never really going to.
Yeah, they're never going to really deal with it. That is fascinating. Brendon DeSimone, how do people get a hold of you?
They can find me on the internet at BrendonDeSimone.com. I also write a column for the Zillow blog, so just go to ZillowBlog.com or Zillow.com and find my weekly column there.
We got to do a Skype and put you on my TV program as well.
I'd love to do it. Thanks so much.
Great job. Great job, Brendon. Thank you very much.